Hello and welcome to Take the Black, your one and only podcast chat show where we discuss all things fantasy and science fiction, and especially right now, all things Westeros, Game of Thrones, House of the Dragon, A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms, A Song of Ice and Fire, all the things from the worlds of George R. R. Martin's fantasy universe. As always, I'm Daniel Roman, the editor of winteriscoming.net, and I'm psyched to be joined by Marq Nettles of House of Nettles. How you doing, Mark?
I'm good. I'm good. We're seeing a lot of things in Westeros. I'm seeing a lot of things across the internet. So, I'm in the right place to talk about it. And you are all in the right place to listen to us talk about it. So, yay to you.
Yeah. And we've got some stuff to talk about. So House of the Dragon's in its third season right now. The premiere episode came out last week. The second episode came out this week. And it really hit the ground running. A lot happened in these first two episodes. If you haven't seen our breakdown of the premiere, the Battle of the Gullet, go watch that on the YouTube channel, listen on Spotify, wherever you're doing your podcast thing. But today we're going to talk about episode 2. Mark, let's just start out with the big question. Did you like episode 2?
That's a loaded question.
This episode made choices.
There were definitely choices. I enjoyed it. It was definitely entertaining. I mean, they're putting out good TV. They're putting out good TV. Some of the choices were they all things I agree with? No. But if you tell, and I know we said this last episode, I can definitely see this being the finale of the last season.
Totally.
It does it make me a little worried for how they're going to continue. Is there going to be any time skips? Is it just going to be the next minute of everything of what happened? I'm not sure. I don't know yet. But you know what? For right now, we're talking about episode 2, and I enjoy it.
Yeah, totally. I think you hit the nail on the head with it feeling like the finale. That final shot of Rhaenyra on the Iron Throne, seeing Alicent, them kind of looking at each other in the throne room. That to me feels like, oh, here's your end of season shot. That should have been for last season. That's the closer. So yeah, I do think it'll be a big question of, from this point on, can House of the Dragon make it feel like it's gelling as season 3? Because so much of these first 2 episodes, they've fit the formula of like a final 2 episodes of a Game of Thrones season. But yeah, it's definitely beating the allegations of not too much happening. Like last season, I feel like people complained a lot that it dragged, not enough went down. We had a lot of talking in circles in rooms, and these first 2 episodes, that's not super. It's not really the case. It's still the case in a few places, but a lot happens.
And just going from the trailer they had put out for this season, it definitely feels like all the scenes, the cool scenes we saw from it, came from these first couple of episodes. So yeah. I'm assuming the first 4 episodes is what we all the clips we saw within the trailer. So like the iconic line from the trailer when she says, "Bring Aegon Targaryen to me. Have you all not betrayed my queen?" All those cool things from me. I'm like, oh, that's happening right now.
Yeah.
So it does give me something to look forward to in the upcoming episodes, probably episodes 5 to 8. So I'm like, okay, all right, still a little mystery how they're going to handle certain things.
Yeah, totally. And I love that. That is one of my peeves, is trailers that like show way too much from late in a season or like the end of a movie. So like I love finding out that most of the stuff in the trailer really was these first 2 episodes. And presumably a little bit from 3 and 4. So yeah, that means there's plenty of surprises in store. I've still seen a lot of theories from people flying around about where they think the season will end and stuff like that. Some are really off. Some are probably less off. I have a little bit of insight into this from having seen the first 4. So like, yeah, I'm excited to see how this season kind of plays with people's expectations a little bit, because especially the book reader crowd, we have a lot of those, and they know it and they want to mess with us. But before we dive fully into what happened in episode 2, I do want to back up for a sec because I forgot to mention this. So the ratings for the season 3 premiere have come out. HBO released them. So I just wanted to shout this out because it's interesting. I don't think it's cause for worry, but they were down a little bit for House of the Dragon season 3. It averaged around 21.5 million global viewers in the first 3 days across HBO and HBO Max, according to Deadline. Those are numbers from Warner Brothers, which, we can only scrutinize so much. Streamers release their own numbers these days rather than like Nielsen doing it like it used to. But that's down 8% from season 2, which did 23.4 million in the same time frame. Season 2 viewership also got a little bit of a bump leading into season 3, people rewatching and stuff like that. Do you think this is cause for concern?
Concern? No. I think we can all say season 2, people had their complaints. So it of course wasn't going to be an increase going into season 3. Yeah. But if you put out solid television, by the end of this season, you may be able to garner back that crowd, increase it, and then going into season 4, and especially with everyone knowing it's the last season, you can have that boom.
Yeah, totally. It's a fairly normal thing for shows to dip a little bit between seasons. For them to go up between seasons is like studios are like, we've got gold here. Like, we need to treat this like our new flagship. So season 2 did drop from season 1, and season 1 largely, I think, satisfied most viewers more. It wasn't as divisive as season 2, we can say, and it still had that sort of dip from the first episode of season 1 to the first episode of season 2. So it's probably not 100% what HBO would like to hear, because they've just hyped this premiere to the moon and back. Like, they've hyped it so much. But it's not, I agree. It's not like a cause for concern or anything. It's just curious to note. So we'll see though, if it can claw back some of those numbers.
Yeah, definitely something to look at and pay attention to, but not be pulling out our hair if I'm over there at HBO Studios and all that.
Yeah, Casey Bloys, don't pull out your hair. You got this. All right, let's talk episode 2 here. First thing I want to shout out here, because we talked about it at the end last time, because it just kind of slipped, I think, our minds. The intro of this season, it's a different intro, slightly different intro. Got new music, got a few new things. The tapestry's ripping apart. Did you notice they added the gullet?
You know what? I didn't see the gullet being added, so I'm definitely gonna have to go back and rewatch that part of it.
Yeah. I love me some like nitpicking and breaking down the intros on House of the Dragon, especially because it's a little denser than like the Game of Thrones one, where it's like it's the map. You can only break down the map so much. With House of the Dragon, they like hide a lot of Easter eggs and stuff. But they added 2 scenes that I saw from the gullet. There's Shirako Lohar jumping at Corlys Velaryon on the deck of a ship, and he's holding her off. Oh. And then there's a shot of Jace in the water with some blood around him, stuck full of arrows. So they went for it.
That's just petty, right? That's just petty, right there.
Yeah,
we could have had him on the dragon at least. Gosh, darn it.
Right? Nope. He's just floating, looking sad. The other thing that I noticed, and I'm curious if you think this is like anything or it's just they thought it looked cool. So the end of this new intro, I saw people note this online, and it kind of just slipped my mind. I didn't really process it the first time I saw it, but the Targaryen sigil at the end of this intro is a black dragon, which is cool looking, but that's also an actual sigil in Westeros lore. It's the Blackfires, which are a different rebellion of Targaryen bastards that happens during like Egg's time from A Night of the Seven Kingdoms. Is the Blackfires are all around that time, which is 100 years after this. So do you think they just put that in here because they were like, Black Dragon looks cool? Like, what do you think about that?
Because it does look cool.
Yeah.
Because it does
nice.
Go Team Blackfire.
That's awesome.
But no, and that's the thing. It's like, why would they put an Easter egg for the Blackfires, House Blackfire, for an event that, like you said, happens 100 years in world after this? So
makes no sense.
Maybe it was just it makes no sense. Maybe it was just hey, the black pops on the screen better, so we're gonna just make the dragon black. It's probably something as simple as that.
Yeah, I imagine that's true. You know people are going to nitpick that. You know
Yeah.
it. And be like, this is proof they don't know anything. But yeah, I imagine you're right. Whoever designed the intro was like, this black dragon just looks better.
Yeah. Just nobody's gonna notice. Not at all. Not this way.
Definitely not in this fandom. Definitely not. But speaking of things we can notice and maybe belay some fears a little bit people had. So one of the things that got people a little upset, the Gullet made a lot of changes from the book, obviously. A few really important ones, like excluding Rhaenyra's youngest kids. Tywin Lannister goes overboard and presumably dies, and he's got a lot more to do in the book. So we'll see how these things shake out. But one thing I saw people upset about was that the dragon seeds were not involved. So Ulf and Hugh and Adam of Hall with their dragons, Vermithor, Silverwing, and Sea Smoke. They were there at the beginning of this episode. Do you think that redeemed that?
um, it makes it make sense. Like you can say, if you did want to compare it to the books, does it redeem it? Kind of, because they did show up in the battle. They did burn the ships. When they write down the history books, it will say, all right, Jace came out there first, and then these other dragons came and followed. And you can say, okay, that does line up to the events that the people in the boats did see.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. And they do get there after Jace in the book too. So it's that struck me as almost like maybe a budget thing or something. They were like, we have to split our budget a little bit between episodes 1 and 2. We can have them start episode 2, and then it's like, the fallout of the battle a little bit.
Yeah, because we never got any close-ups of the dragon riders in the second part of the Gullet in this episode. It was just, hey, we see the dragons, we see them burning, and we'll keep it at that. We got a little bit of Adam, so shout out to him get to be back on his dragon.
Yeah. It's nice to see at least one of the dragon seeds up in the Buck Mount in an actual shot. I didn't even think about that like Hugh and Ulf, they probably didn't even film anything for that sequence. But from there, we got to skip straight to Dragonstone, where Baela, who is like just the absolute most badass person in this entire Gullet sequence, carried Jace's body back on the back of Moondancer. And then we get the Rhaenyra grieving stuff. Do you have any thoughts about that whole sequence?
And like you said, shout out to Baela. Probably had some help from another ship, because I can only imagine how hard it is to get your dragon to float, pick up a body, and not harm it in any way.
Yeah, that's pretty fair. How'd she get him all the way up onto the saddle?
Yeah. But still courageous, because you have to go back and face Rhaenyra, and that was going to be the thing. We're going to be like, all right, everyone's like, you can see in their face, they're mentally preparing to face her and say, your son didn't make it. It's Sir Lawrence, Lord Commander Lawrence. That was a quick command ship that you had there. So definitely, and you can see it on everyone's face when she's like just reaching down to Jace and says, like, hey, essentially telling them like, hey, get up, like, what are you doing? And no one can say anything.
Yeah,
the room's just dead silent.
Yeah, that was painful. It was great acting from Emma Darcy. I saw an interview a while back with Harry Collett, who plays Jace, where he basically said that he saw Emma Darcy do what for him was like the best performance on a film set he'd ever seen, like personally, in one of his episodes. And it was this scene, I'm pretty sure. Because he does get a guest starring credit for this, because he laid there for those scenes. So he got to witness Emma Darcy doing the grieving while he laid there and tried to remain perfectly still.
Keep your eyes closed.
Yeah. But yeah, so Sir Laurent, like you said, not a great time for him. I do love the line we get later in the episode where Rhaenyra says to, I think, Daemon, like, Sir Laurent can choose how he dies. I think that was like the hardest line of Rhaenyra's we've gotten in the whole show so far.
Mm-hmm. I don't know what are my choices. Do I just get to pick anything, or how does this go? Definitely, and you can only imagine, like, okay, if things would have went differently, if they win and Jace lives, okay, as long as Jace is alive, so Laurent has a chance not to be executed. I think
Yeah.
that's the crux of it. Now, because if you're going to punish him, you have to punish your son who gave the order.
Yeah.
Son's not there anymore. The person that gave the order isn't there. Hey, you are. I guess you get to meet your maker however you want.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. I'm glad that she didn't like let Sir Lauren off the hook. I almost wondered if she was going to at first, because when she's like grieving, there's a bit where she's like, would it bring my son back to kill you type thing. But then by the end of the episode, when she's going to King's Landing, she's like, nah, he's got to go. I'm never going to trust him again. And probably rightfully so, he didn't have her back. He went with Jace's order, which I keep going back and forth. Do you think Jace was right? This isn't even on our outline, but like I've been thinking about this. So, do you think he made the right call?
For their trying to win back the Iron Throne and take King's Landing, that was the right call. She's too important to what they're doing. If she falls, it all falls apart. They're not going to be able to hold these other houses together at this point. They're not in a position of power right now. That's the right call to make, because if she's not there, what's going to keep Daemon in check? What's going to keep? I know Corlys would want Jace because technically he is a Valyrian in the name of all the lords and ladies, but there'll be too much up in the air for him to keep this all together.
Yeah, it's tricky because there's the whole like defying the queen, locking the queen in her room angle of it, which obviously not great. But at the same time, I rewatched the Gullet and then Rook's Rest in a row, and I realized Rhaenyra does like the exact same thing before the Battle of Rook's Rest, where she's like, she just had a secret meeting with Alicent. She comes back. There's stuff about a battle happens pretty immediately after. Her first impulse is, well, I'll go. And Jace is there too. He's like, you can't do that. Like, don't do that. But in that scene, he had Corlys Velaryon and Rhaenys to back him up. And they talked Rhaenyra down. And here he doesn't. He's got nobody. So he did the only thing.
Which I understand from Rhaenyra's point of view, like she has the biggest dragon available to them right now. Like, of course I need to be out there. We can't have your little quick dragons running around. Like, nah, that's not getting the job done. We need Syrax back out in the battlefield, even though she's never seen battle a day in her life.
Right. Yeah, it's true. It's true. Moon Dancer's seen more action than Syrax, I think, at this point, from chasing Kristen around the Riverlands. But yeah, so obviously stuff afoot in Dragonstone. We skip around the map a lot in this episode, so thus we will skip around the map in this podcast. Rhaena gets a single scene here as well, because she kind of caused Jace's death in the show by showing up on her wild dragon sheep stealer. She goes to ask Jane Arryn for essentially asylum in the Vale, which is where Sheep Stealer lives anyway. What did you make of this scene, and what do you make of Rhaena's, what they're doing with her in general? Because it's obviously how many kids does Scarlett O'Hara have? There's that idiom George R. R. Martin likes, but Rhaena is a very totally different character at this point, so we kind of have to judge her almost differently now.
Yeah, and this is strictly from the show. I mean, it was a smart move. That's essentially the only place she knew to go back to. She couldn't go back. She couldn't go to Driftmark. Of course, she couldn't stay on Dragonstone. She probably doesn't want to even try to face Rhaenyra right now because, like she alluded to, people would assume she caused Jace's death. And do I think she did that? Yes. Was it intentional? Was it intentional? No. So I like Lady Jane Arryn? She told her, like, hey, I can't tell you not to be here. Not saying you can, but if they catch you, don't tell them I told you can stay. You can stay. Just don't let them know I told you to stay.
Yep. I love that too. I thought that was a good resolution for that scene of, her being like, the Vale's vast and I can't tell a dragon where to abide. Like, he's going to go live where he wants to live. If he wants to live here and protect us, that's cool. I love the actress who plays Jane Arryn. Her name is Amanda Collins. She was in Raised by Wolves, with the guy who plays Alan of Hull. They were like a
Yes.
duo in that show. So any scenes with her, I'm like, yes, give us more. Like, she's a crazy actress. Like, more scenes with her, please. But yeah, so Rhaena, I'm growing more interested. I'm over my frustration of no Nettles, and now I'm like, all right. I still think that they're gonna work in. I think she will be called Nettles at some point this season. I think they're gonna do something with that. They're gonna use the name for Rhaena, uh, but she's gonna have a twisting journey. That's my impression here.
I'm about to say, I know you said you think she'll use the name L. You think she'll go undercover because under the pseudonym?
I think it's possible. She's essentially going to be in hiding, right? In the Vale. She wants to stay in the Vale. She told Jane Eyre, no one saw me but Jace. So like nobody knows who Sheep Stealer's rider is. I think, the best, I wouldn't be surprised if she like tries to go into hiding. And because she essentially is anyway, if she stays with Sheep Stealer, like it's not like she can just. Jane Eyre told her, like, you can't stay in my castle. So where's she gonna stay? Like, she's got to stay on a field somewhere,
I just feel like the word would eventually get out. Maybe, hey, there's a dragon ride. Like, you have guards out there. She would have had to invoke for someone to get Lady Jane Eyre to come on, walk all the way out there by herself, and for her to know, okay, this isn't under threat or duress. This is literally my ally outside my gate. So that people have to know.
Yeah,
she was on that dragon, at least in the Vale, and it is. Maybe they will keep it secret. They'll listen to the lady of the Vale of Eyre, but that's a good question.
Yeah, I definitely have questions about who knows what in regards to Rhaena and Sheep Stealer, because I noticed that Rhaenyra and Baela also are like, it was Sheep Stealer. Like Rhaenyra says that in this episode, that Baela said it was Sheep Stealer, but like when Rhaena discovered Sheep Stealer last season, Sheep Stealer wasn't like known to her. Like it seemed like she had stumbled upon this wild dragon that the locals in the Vale knew. So like I guess Baela and Rhaenyra also know about this wild dragon, and like they just never bothered to tell Rhaena because she's not a dragon rider. Like it's not really clear how widespread knowledge of this dragon in the Vale is, but seems like it might be wider than we thought. I don't know. They need to kind of answer that in the next few episodes, I think.
I think we're just gonna have to we might yada 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 that one, and it's gonna be like, all right, yeah, we knew about it now. She just kind of forgot about it or wasn't in dragon class that day.
Yeah, totally. I think there are a couple of things like that in this episode where I'm like, all right, we're kind of glossing over who knows what, and then we'll run with it, I guess. So here's one that I was, choices, man. This is one I really don't love, but I want to know your opinion, and I'm going to ask you your opinion before I give any of mine because I don't want to taint yours. What did you think about the fact they skipped the fish feed?
That's I have to just hope that means they have something else in mind. I understand you can't show every battle, like 100%. There's so many battles in this. Fishy was a cool battle across multiple fronts, so
Yes.
would have been nice to see. Yes. Do I understand from their point of view, like, hey, we're not going to show this because we want these other battles that only get quick mentions to maybe they play a bigger part in all of the plot is what I can assume. And they have the speed run to get Daemon out of there as well. So is it happy about it? No, but yeah.
Yeah, that's how I feel. It's an 8-episode season. I feel like they have to make really hard choices about what they include in order to be able to get anywhere close to the end of the story by the end of season 4. I wish, part of me at this point is like, I really wish almost that they were doing season 5 so they didn't need to compress things quite so much. But yeah, the fish feed. So for people who only watch the show, who are listening to this podcast, who maybe don't know what the fish feed is, I'm looking for a picture here. I've got Fire and Blood in my lap so that I can hold it up to the camera and say, this is the fish feed. But essentially the fish feed is this battle in the Riverlands. Here we go. I don't know how well that's going to come out on camera. Probably not well at all, but it's a bunch of armored people in a lake stabbing each other. And it is the bloodiest land battle of the entire war. And essentially, the Winter Wolves and River Folk trap what's left of the Lannister host against the God's Eye Lake, which is next to Harrenhal. The Lannister host tries to send for reinforcements from Harrenhal because Aemond is already there in the book. They want Aemond to come help them. The Rivermen shoot down all their ravens and then proceed to slaughter all of them by pushing them back into the lake. Half of them drown, half of them die. It's gruesome. So the fish feed name is like the way Martin writes about it, it's almost like people are so haunted by this thing, they call it this name. And they kind of turned it into like a little party jig in the show. Yeah, I this is one of those decisions that I'm really like, man, I can't imagine looking at Fire and Blood and being like, this is a thing we don't need. You know what I mean? About the fish feed. I'm sure that you're right, and like they're saving budget or whatever for other battles. We know presumably the Butcher's Ball is going to happen this season. That's another battle in the Riverlands that is more important than the fish feed. Because of some things that happen there for specific characters. So I assume they're going to make that a bigger deal. But yeah, I'm torn. I was really torn when the scene just started. Like, I like the scene. I like a party with the Winter Wolves and Black Alley and the Tullys. Like, sign me up. That's real fun. But yeah, I was really torn about them cutting the battle by the lake shore.
Hopefully that just means like we said, maybe there'll be a bigger part for some of these characters, and they'll probably be involved in another battle because they're like, hey, we can't have them just go away, go off page. So it's like, let's integrate them in this other battle that's just going to be more important for the series overall.
Yeah, totally. I imagine we'll see some people at Tumbleton who weren't there in the book. I like kind of expect we might see Daemon there because otherwise Daemon won't have any battles this season. Aside from actually what we'll talk about at the end of this episode, the Fall of King's Landing, which he had a good part in that. He also has a scene with Alice Rivers here. She asks him for something that he kind of laughs about.
Yes, it's funny.
She wants Harrenhal. He says, "You're a midwife. I can't give you Harrenhal. We don't give castles to midwives here." And she said, "Is that all you think I am?" And they kind of just leave it at that. And she says, "Don't come back to the Riverlands, Daemon." What did you make?
Right about that.
yeah, right. Some of the foreshadowing is pretty good. I feel like House of the Dragon is like it is at times not very faithful, and then it drops in a very faithful thing from the book where it's like, okay, you do care. I see you care. What did you think about Alice Rivers' request of Daemon here?
Ridiculous request. Ridiculous request.
Yes, it was. It's like there's no way he could say yes to this.
It's one of the most important castles in all of Westeros, in the center of Westeros almost. And, I'm not trying to discount what she does. Midwife, medicine doctor, almost maester, witch, whatever you want to call her. Totally. You can't get Westeros. I don't care if it was a man in her position. He can't get Westeros either. Like, no, I mean, not Westeros, Harrenhal. Like, that's not a castle you can give to anybody.
Yeah, absolutely. Which is funny because out of all the castles in this whole thing, it's probably the one that has been given around to the most people. Because like Game of Thrones, it's a joke, like the Curse of Harrenhal, because people get given Harrenhal and then they die or they stumble on misfortune, and then the crown gives this big ruined castle to someone else as a prize, and then they die. But yeah, I mean, Alice Rivers, it's one of those things where it's like, you are an unserious person if you think this is not Daemon. We can pin a lot of things on Daemon Targaryen, but laughing about this is not one of them, because it's not like Harrenhal exists in a vacuum. If Rhaenyra gives this random ass woods witch Harrenhal, every lord and lady in the Seven Kingdoms is gonna want to know why. She's gonna be expected to appear at events. Like, Harrenhal is an important location in the Riverlands. Like, it doesn't just happen and then it's like she gets to go off and be secluded at Harrenhal. Like, people will want to know about this. So I don't think Rhaenyra has no choice here.
No, no. It almost makes me worried from Alice Rivers, like, and this could be one of those decisions we talk about.
Yeah.
To show her, because the actions she's took seem different than they were from the book so far.
Sure.
But why would her helping Daemon go on an acid trip mean like, hey, look how much I helped you? It's like, you kind of helped me a little bit, realize not to betray my wife, but was that really you? Or was that the crazy magic medicine you gave me showing me these visions? Like, you didn't show me these visions, unless you're trying to apply that she was the one giving Daemon those direct visions and not inducing visions and seeing how things happen.
Yeah, I think part of it too, she mentions that she got Rhaenyra a host of like 40,000 rivermen. So I think part of what she's alluding to is, was it Grover Tully, Oscar Tully's grandfather, who was like on his deathbed, and Daemon needed Oscar to be the Lord of River Run, and she was like, I'll take care of it. I don't remember what she said, but then it's kind of hinted at that Alice somehow through her magic, or maybe she like gave him bad tea, whatever,
Mm-hmm.
ended up leading to Grover Tully dying, and then Oscar became Lord of River Run. And that let Daemon kind of take control of the Riverlands. But even still, like, even if that's true, it's still just like, again, Rhaenyra can't say yes to this. Like, she just can't.
No.
And I imagine, so this is, it's a book spoiler, but I think we can talk about this at this point, because this episode ends with more Harrenhal, with Aemond going to Harrenhal. Which, what do you think of Aemond at Harrenhal before we get to Aemond and Alice Rivers, which is where I want to go with this?
Oh man, it happened so quick, and it was a cool. And this would have been a good contrast in season 2, seeing how Daemon was building up Harrenhal, then immediately seeing how Aemond comes in and destroys all the work that was done on this place, annihilates it. And then our poor man, Sir Simon Strong, meets his end as Aemond comes in there, and he is not as diplomatic as his uncle was.
Nope.
And put a sword, put a knife right to this man's gut. I was shocked at how they did it, just because it was different from the book, but still has the same effect on us, the audience. He does kind of make a show of it when telling him to get a sword. And, this man, hey, he hasn't been a fighter in years, has never been a fighter.
Yeah.
And now old man trying to defend himself.
Yeah, totally. This is one of those things where it's like, it's close enough to the book that I'm going to call that a faithful little thing. Like, in Fire and Blood, Aemond essentially demands that they duel, and then he just chops him up. And then he demands that he gets to duel all of his grandchildren or whoever. I think it's his sons in the show. And then he chops them all up. So they just condense that. So it's just Aemond kills everybody. That's fine. Mm-hmm. Like you said, it's the same thing essentially, except he gets stabbed, and then he meets Alice Rivers, who will fulfill his mommy issue needs in a future episode. I am sure
she could turn into anything she wants for him.
That's
but
right.
It definitely and it makes you think, like, okay, in her mind, I couldn't get this castle from Team Black. I could get it from Daemon. Look what just fell in my lap. Team Green's strongest dragon rider right here, and he needs my help. He needs me to nurse him back to health. He's dying in front of her.
Yep. That's exactly where I was going with this. Yeah, I imagine we'll see her flip that request over to Aemond. And like, Aemond will probably be more amenable than Daemon, because Aemond and Alice Rivers have a romance in Fire and Blood, for whatever we want to call it, whatever kind of romance Aemond is capable of. Fire and Blood doesn't go into the deets, but it's enough of one that it would be a way less outlandish request for Alice Rivers to make of Aemond than it was of Daemon. So yeah, I laughed when she asked Daemon, but I'm curious how that's going to play out with Aemond.
Yes. Especially how the story may go. I can definitely see it'll be probably a little bit of an easier gift for him to potentially give to her, and see maybe she can control a good portion of the Riverlands. Possibly.
Yeah, totally. And Aemond doesn't care. He'll elevate people. So yeah, some cool stuff in the Riverlands. Before we King's Landing is kind of the capstone of this episode. So let's touch a few other places before we get there. Alan and Bela. We find Corlys. Corlys Velaryon survived. No one is very
Hey.
surprised. Of course he survived. He's Corlys Velaryon. He's got a lot to do still. Um, but we get kind of him with all of his remaining immediate family, aside from Rhaena. He's with Alan of Hull and Adam of Hull and Bela Targaryen. We get a scene with Alan and Bela, which I liked, which the book readers will be like, hey, that's a cool little nod there, because they have stuff way later in the book. But it's also just, it's nice to see those two characters together, because we haven't before this. Any thoughts on the Corlys Velaryon of it all?
You know what? I was happy to see how quickly he can move. Not just brush past, like, hey, my whole house that I built up like over my lifetime. But that's what you got to do now. Like, there's nothing I can do about it. I can't bring all that stuff back right now. And there's probably still plenty. Corlys is a smart man. I doubt all his fortune was in that one location.
Yeah.
But in the book, they do have a second castle on the other, probably somewhere located on the island. So the House Velaryon is going to be fine. Yeah. But for him to look at his sons and be like, hey, I can't give you a castle filled with all this gold. I can't remember the line exactly, but say, I can give you a name. Yeah. And that's what Alan told his dad. That's all I really wanted.
Yeah.
That was what was most important to me, to have a family, to belong, to have a name that was, it was denied for him for all his life up until this moment.
Yep. Totally. I like that as a resolution of kind of this 2-episode arc almost for Alan of Hull and Corlys Velaryon, where they really leveled with each other in a way that was like refreshing last episode. And here Corlys is like, I can do that thing you want. I can give you my name. That's all I've got anyway. All my stuff's gone. And you're right about it not being all in the same place, but I don't know how much this will help. I watched a behind the scenes thing of Steve Toussaint and Abubakar Salim walking around the set of The Queen Who Never Was, the ship, and they had Corlys's treasures on the ship. So like the crab feeder mask from season 1 is on the ship, but the ship's wrecked too, so he loses it either way, I guess.
hopefully they can find the mask. I think the ship's like right there. Let's grab some of the stuff off real quick.
Yeah. But yeah, I liked the Corlys Velaryon. I was a little peeved. This is just one of these things with this show where I appreciate stuff and get annoyed at the same time. They had Corlys's iconic line from the book of, if this be victory, ... but they tweaked it ever so slightly. In the book, it's, if this be victory, I pray I never see another. And they made it just slightly less poetic for some reason in the show, where it's, I hope I never see another. It's one of those things where I'm like, why would you even bother to use this line to change it to be just slightly worse? So that I expected to love that line and the fact that they included it, but it took me out of the episode a little bit. It's also just like an awkward cut. It's not Corlys's face that he says the thing. Were you happy to see that in there though?
Yeah, I was happy to see it. I was like, oh, okay. I knew he was saying the thing, but I didn't realize the change in it. And I can definitely see if you freshly read it though, you're like, that sounds a little off. Yeah. Like, why change that line unless something else is happening? Like, why would that be the one you kind of tweak right there?
Yeah, and like a meaningless tweak. You know what I mean? Like, there are times where House of the Dragon changes stuff, and I'm like, legit, like, you got to do what you got to do. It's adaptation. And there are times where I'm like, who thought this was like, this tiny meaningless thing was like better than the thing that was already there? Like Helena with Blood and Cheese saying, hey, I have a necklace, instead of like, kill me instead of my kids, was another one of those things where I'm like, who thought this was a better thing? Like, that's just a line of dialogue. There's no practical reason to change something like that. Anyway, that's a very, very, very small axe to grind in the grand scheme of this episode. The last place we need to check in before we go to King's Landing is Aegon and Larys, who remain captive for all of 10 seconds. They got captured immediately. They escape immediately. They're kind of fun, these two together.
Yeah, it's a fun little duo. Of course, Larys is still a complete wild card. What is he doing? Why is he doing it? I'm not sure, but they were on an escape mission. Now they got a double escape mission. Now I was like, I don't even know where. I know the goal for them is to get the Dragonstone now. Yeah. Well, that's where they were being taken. So I guess
Yeah,
that's it's like, do they still want to go to Dragonstone?
that's a good question. Yeah. Well, Aegon
Yeah,
wants to go to Rook's Rest,
yeah.
which, Aegon and Laris are one of the rare examples this season of something that's fully off book. Like Aegon just
Mm,
disappears after the fall of King's Landing. He pops up way later in the story. We have no idea what he did between those 2 points. So like they're just making a whole new story for him this season. And I think that's great. Like I like Matthew Needham and Tom Glencarney as Laris and Aegon. Like I don't want them out of
mhm.
the show for a season. Like give them something to do. And having them kind of wander around the crown lands, at least for now,
Yeah.
is a cool thing to do. Like I hope we've seen maybe some evidence that they may get to Rook's Rest. There's a shot in I think one of the trailers that looks like it could be Aegon leaning on Sunfire, his dragon, who the show has been telling
Indeed.
us is dead for a whole season since Rook's Rest or whatever. But
Mhm.
like Sunfire can't be dead. Like I don't believe it for a second. Um,
Oh, he's goodest boy. Goodest boys can't be dead.
he can't. He can't. It's true. He's got some stuff to do, Sunfire. That would be a real weird choice. But yeah, I don't the vibe of like almost a Tyrion and Varys odd couple traveling, people who kind of don't like each other and are kind of friends. Like I really
Mm.
enjoy getting, even though it's only a tiny bit with Laris and Aegon, I enjoyed it a lot. Laris being like, "Huh, I am surprised," when he sees the triarchy there.
It's like, they didn't completely plan for this.
Yeah.
We saw him plan for other things in King's Landing, but not
Hmm.
specifically this.
Yeah, yeah. Good call. So let's talk about the King's Landing of it all. So obviously the big climactic thing of this is the fall of King's Landing. Um, and Rhaenyra decides she's gonna go. Daemon's there with her. They know Vhagar has left. Alicent convinced Aemond to leave with Vhagar. And Rhaenyra decides she's just gonna go. Screw her counselors. Screw Sir Laurent. She's got dragons. Hugh and Ulf are there.
Yeah.
They don't get treated very kindly in
No,
this
no, no.
episode. I feel like they're front loading some abuse onto Hugh and Ulf to justify some later things they'll do.
I was they were always justified in my opinion, but
Whoo! Okay.
we'll wait for that. We'll wait
That's
for the
a
moment.
hot take. Yeah. We'll get there
We'll-
this
yeah,
season.
we'll get there. But I completely agree with Damon when he was talking to Hugh and Ulf. It's like, you guys are supposed to wait in the Riverlands for Vhagar. And I know they had a big speech. Well, a witch told us to leave, and we waited for 2 days. It's like, is 2 days enough times to leave? I would say no. I'm on
Yeah.
Damon's side of being upset with them. Now, was Damon being a little snooty and a little upset that these lowbrow lowbrow people were raised as high as dragon riders? Yes,
Yeah.
he was definitely giving that off.
He didn't need to smack Ulf in the face.
A little bit. A little bit. If you're gonna smack someone, it's gonna be off. I think
Damn.
we can
All
all
right.
agree on
He
that.
just wanted some little birds.
But yeah, that was definitely had to get him in check, and they played their part in the taking of King's Landing. So I'll give them that.
Yeah, they did. The scenes of the four dragons flying over King's Landing were pretty spectacular. I like that they kind of gave each of the four dragons some time in the spotlight. We got some cool shots of, Silverwing flying over the city. Vermithor flies over Ulf's or Hugh's wife, Cat. We get a scene of her in the street looking up at this dragon in fear, not knowing it's her husband on it. Which is
That's gonna be
juicy.
great.
Yeah, I like, they've done a good job, I think, with Hugh and his wife and that whole dynamic of making him just a way more three-dimensional character. But then of course we get into the actual taking of the castle. And Alicent has done a lot of groundwork laying for this, which actually I realized there's some things we forgot to talk about with Alicent.
Oh yeah, she had a lot of. She did a great job this episode. I'll give her that. The way she was able to navigate all those different resources Team Green had to tell them to stand down, get to the gold cloaks. Like, hey, you like Damon? I can get all of Damon's dragon buddies here. You just have to stand down. Told the guy with the that was manning the walls. You just got to open the gates.
Yep.
Let's try not to shoot down any dragons.
Yep. The Queen Helena wants you to open the gates. She would like some chickens. You don't need to know that, but she would, and she would also like you to open the gates. Yeah, Allison, this was a good episode for Schemer Allison. We met Sir Luther Largent. This was his first episode, the commander of the Gold Cloaks here, which I like. I think this is the first time like we've had a memorable like Gold Cloak captain since like Janos Slynt, who was the worst in the early Game of Thrones seasons. Like Luther Largent feels kind of like the opposite. Like he seems like he's good at his job.
Yeah.
Aside from the whole like turning the city over to Rhaenyra, but that's beside the point. He's loyal to Daemon because Daemon essentially invented the Gold Cloaks.
Then again, they had a famous line. I can't. Daemon's he's the one that made our cloaks gold. I'm butchering it. Don't tell anybody.
Yeah. Yep. So I'm not going to look it up today, but yeah, someone shout out in the comments what the line is from Luther Largent when he betrays the Greens. Yeah, good stuff. There's one thing I loathed about Allison's plotline, though. Do you know what it was?
They're just gonna walk out the city.
No, her getting assaulted by Jasper Wilde.
Oh,
I hated that.
That really, I don't know. That came out of nowhere. I'm like, oh,
exactly. Yeah, it came out of nowhere. I feel like the only reason they put it in is because they needed Jasper Wilde in the dungeon. So like House of the Dragon before season 1, it made this whole thing of like we don't depict sexual violence on screen. Like that's a thing they said in like interviews and stuff. And I feel like here with Allison, they don't really know what to do with Allison at times. So like they just heap abuses on her and like they needed Jasper in the dungeon. So how do we get him in the dungeon? We have him assault Allison. Because by the end of the episode he's dead. Like the only reason it happened is so Daemon had a reason to go to the dungeon. We find out.
Yeah.
So yeah, that felt like, I don't want to be too harsh, but like it felt like a lazy use of something difficult material, if that makes sense.
Yes. It's a long. Of course, that's a longer conversation.
Yeah.
But how it came up, it just seemed like, oh, okay, this is what you're doing right now. Are there any guards outside? Did you plan on this whole wing of the castle being empty to do this? And then what was your plan afterward? Like Jasper's a smart guy. Something seemed off about, and I know, like you said, it was to get him down all the way downstairs.
Yeah, totally. And there were just things about that where it's like it just doesn't make a ton of sense. Like Orwell comes in and he's like, I know what I see, like arrest this guy. And as he's getting let out, Jasper Wilde is like, I'm the master of laws. And it's like, yeah, but dude, he just caught you trying to do this thing to Allison. Like the master of laws argument does not work like that went out the window 10 seconds ago.
You're going to jail. You're going to jail.
Yeah. So beyond that, this is the thing with this episode. There's a lot of really good stuff and a lot of choices where I'm like, I don't know what we were thinking here. And Allison getting assaulted is one of them where I'm like, I don't know what we were thinking. There's one more of those that we'll get to. But yeah, so the taking of the castle, Rhaenyra, Daemon, all of that, her getting to the throne room, the coup there. What are your thoughts? What were your opinions on that section? Really important part of the story.
Yeah. That was a lightly guarded castle. Now I know Allison told them to stand down, and they made Daemon so extra badass. And was it fun? It was fun to see 100% watching him go slicing and dicing. I'm like, that's a lot of. I feel like they were fighting like a old martial arts movie where they come at you 1-on-1.
Yeah. Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah, I'm like, okay, it seems almost too easy to get all the way there. And of course, we know at the end they had Sir Rickard standing guard with a whole bunch of Team Green soldiers behind him. And I'm like, okay, this is going to meet their match. And then they pulled the season 1 Game of Thrones where the Gold Cloaks did the big flip. They revealed themselves. Sir Rickard's like, oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. I was surprised he threw down his sword. I was like, you're a king's guard. You're supposed to guard the king's throne. Kind of gave him a little easy, in my opinion.
Yeah, he's pragmatic, that Rickard Thorne. I mean, king's gone, regent's gone, the Dowager Queen's betraying everything. Yeah, that's fair. He did kind of throw in the towel, but maybe that means we'll get more Rickard Thorne at some point. Maybe he can
Yeah.
do something. But yeah, the gold cloaks, you can count on them to betray whoever they're supposed to protect at some point, which should, I guess, make us a little nervous because now they're on Rhaenyra's team. But
Hey.
we'll see how that plays out. But yeah, I didn't think about the martial arts thing with like how easy that was with Daemon just slicing through one guy at a time. Um, that's kind of funny. I do feel like House of the Dragon, for all its spectacle with the Dragon Riders, it hasn't had a lot of really good, like well choreographed fight scenes. Like, a show like The Witcher, like that's its bread and butter. Like The Witcher has tons of flaws, whatever, but like the fight choreography is not one of them. Like they clearly like loved doing it. And I feel like House of the Dragon hasn't given itself a lot of opportunities to do crazy fight choreography. And I didn't really think about it until you point this out with the Daemon one, because Aemond's was kind of similar almost, right? Like he's cutting through like one dude at a time.
They always attack one at a time. They surprise, oh my goodness, and he's perfectly set up. Has enough space to use his long sword, so it's not like he's like fighting close quarters at any point. It's like a slash slash. They're out the fight. It looked good though. I mean, it was. I'm not saying it didn't, but maybe some tighter quarters combat, especially navigating these castles.
Yeah, totally. Nobody thought to use a corner in a hallway or something to disadvantage Daemon with his long Valyrian steel sword.
Let me run into the open and fight one of the best swordsmen in the country.
Exactly.
Right now.
Yeah, that's a good plan. But yeah, so they do eventually take the castle, and then we get the final twist. People are being brought before Rhaenyra to kind of bend the knee, and then Daemon shows up. He goes to the dungeons for Jasper Wild. And he comes back with Otto Hightower instead, or in addition, we should say. Because Larys, when Otto went to leave King's Landing, we find out that Larys Strong had him bundled down to the Black Cells instead, beneath the Red Keep. What did you think of that twist, that Otto has been in the Red Keep this whole time?
Well, I think it just shows that Larys may have had too much power in this.
Maybe a bit. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, okay, so he was able to kidnap one of the most powerful men in Westeros. He was the hand of the king 10 minutes ago, and you had this man, and nobody was asking any questions. He was supposed to ride off by himself to back to Old Town. Like, something seems off about that, but okay, all right. Good plan on Larys though, having a contingency plan for if the castle was taken by Team Black. And it seemed like a final plan, because if it wasn't, if say Team Green won, how were you supposed to justify having Otto downstairs? I'm assuming he just would have disappeared down there.
Yeah, I imagine you're right. Because Otto got captured, presumably, like after episode 2 of last season. So that's before Aegon is even burned at Rook's Rest. So things are still very much up in the air at that point. But I guess Larys was planning for every contingency. I think the real practical reason that this happened, that the show did this, is I think Rhys Ifans, the actor who plays Otto, had like a filming conflict during season 2. So they needed to write him out of the season without writing him out of the show. So I was actually kind of pleasantly surprised. Otto dies just like this in King's Landing in the book. And I assumed they were going to have him off on some ridiculous adventure like in the Reach or something. Because, like, does House Beesbury have him? Was like one of the leading theories. Because we knew House Beesbury was causing trouble in the Reach, and that's where Otto was going, we thought. So I really liked, this is what I mean about the show, making a bunch of choices where it's like, I don't know how faithful we're being. And then it will make one where it's like, oh, you do care. We are still hitting the big beats. Otto being in King's Landing and getting executed by maybe not Rhaenyra personally, but by Rhaenyra's power at large is what happens in the book. And I like that they turned that around. And I loved seeing Otto again. He's so good.
Yes. Always a great. I'm gonna miss him now. I'm like, oh, he got to come back. And as soon as I saw, like, oh, that's him. Like, well, This is gonna. I know he's gonna say some banger lines, and that'll be it'll be a little shorter, a head shorter.
Yep. So the last thing I need to ask you about, and I hate to end this, I'll ask broad opinions after this because I hate to end on a nitpicky note, but the thing that I thought was absurd about Otto's execution is that Rhaenyra was expected to do it herself. Did you have any reaction to that?
I have no idea. I feel like they got this idea stuck in their head from in season 2 where they had her pick up a sword and they're like, okay, let's have her kind of prove she's somewhat of a warrior, but that's okay. That's just not who she is, and I'm okay with that as an audience member. Like I don't need the ruler to be a good fighter. I just need them to be competent at ruling and showing that they can command the room. And I know it might be some people that disagree, but I feel like her character for me is falling a little short in that. And I know they wanted to set it up like, okay, she should. And they were kind of setting it up like Rhaenyra's benevolent. Of course, she should be on the Iron Throne. And I feel that way too. I feel like she got gypped only because she was a woman.
Sure.
But I've never felt that, okay, this is the person that should be leading Westeros. I just feel like you got jumped out of the Iron Throne, not that you were the clear best choice.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think this episode and last episode really drive that home. There are a lot of things that I feel like the show is doing because it's leaning into this idea of Rhaenyra is not being taken seriously because she's a woman and Westeros is a patriarchy. But on the flip side of that, I feel like there's a lot of Rhaenyra is not being taken seriously because she's making dumb decisions and doing kind of ridiculous stuff. Like, and that's not Rhaenyra Targaryen's fault necessarily. It's the way she's being written in the show. Like Jace locking her in a room, like even if she thought she was making the right call, like this is the same thing that Corlys Velaryon talked her out of last season, and Rhaenys talked her out of last season, was going and being on the front line as the queen. So like to do that without any second thought is a bad call. And then here at the end of this, it's like Rhaenyra must execute Otto. Like you said, the sword thing. We know that Emma Darcy asked to use a sword at some point this season. So I don't know if this was part of them trying to appease the actor or what. But it just makes no damn sense to me because like none of the kings of the Seven Kingdoms like that we've seen on screen do their own executions, like the Ned Stark does, sure, because he's Ned Stark and they have a northern custom about it. But like, Viserys doesn't do his own executions. Robert Baratheon, who would probably love to do a few, he doesn't do his own executions, like these are warlords. Well, Viserys is not a warlord, but like you get what I mean. Like it's not really an expectation of being the king or queen of Westeros that you will chop heads yourself. Like you are the most powerful person in the room. Part of your power is being able to say, go chop that person's head off,
Yes, and up until this point, the only ruler of the Seven Kingdoms who may have wanted to do that would be Maegor the Cruel.
Exactly.
Besides him, and he was called the Cruel.
Yeah, not the one you want to draw parallels to here, Rhaenyra.
No. You already got the nickname. Oh gosh, Maegor with teats. Like nobody. That's a horrible nickname. Don't play into that.
Don't encourage it. Yeah,
no.
Yeah. So that was one thing you hear at the end of the episode where I was like, why is Daemon not just doing this for you? And Daemon kind of puts the sword in her hand and encourages her, and it's fine, but it's also like it just felt like a forced tension thing when like Daemon could have just done it, and it wouldn't have been kind of almost silly a little bit to expect this thing of Rhaenyra that is really not expected of any kings of Westeros. And you can make the argument, I guess, that she has more to prove because she's a queen, but yeah, I don't know. It just felt like a forced, weird little thing to me, which is too bad because Otto's final scene was great. So
it was. He said, "I don't want you hacking at my neck. Please let Daemon. I'm willing to die with my head down."
How far Otto has come that like at the beginning of the show, he was like, Daemon can't ever be near the throne. And now here at the end, he's like, please just let Daemon do it. Like, at least I know he knows how to do it. He's done it before. But yeah, so R.I.P. Otto Hightower. We had a few deaths this episode. Simon Strong as well. all of House Strong. Larys is the only surviving member of House Strong, except for, I guess, Rhaenyra's youngest bastard, Joffrey. They're the last of House Strong, and then it's done.
And you know what's really bad about this? And of course, we watched the episode before, but my wife has it, and Simon Strong is her favorite character.
Oh no! Oh no!
So when you're all, when everyone here is listening to this, just know my wife would have just saw the episode, and I know she's gonna be upset. I know she's gonna be upset.
Yeah, I mean, Simon Strong, that's really a kind of a nothing part in the book, that actor and the writing for that, they really made him memorable. Simon Russell Beale is that actor. He's like a veteran, like English actor, like had a really long, great career. And he elevates that part with his looks and his attitude and all that stuff. So yeah, we shall never see his like again, or Otto's, I guess. But we've run, as we tend to do, almost as long as this episode, which I think clocked in at 64 minutes. Mark, you have anything else you want to say about the second episode of House of the Dragon season 3?
Good episode. I wish Rhaenyra would have walked up that Iron Throne a little quicker. She was taking her time. I'm like, all right, you've been preparing for this your whole life. Let's get up there and sit down.
Yep.
But it does have me interested in just how the remainder of the season is going to go. Now that this storyline's kind of concluded, and you can see where the natural end at the end of the season, with her staring at Alice, they're looking at each other, looking at Otto's head on the ground, and I'm just interested to see how we're gonna fit the story that they have planned into 6 episodes.
Yeah, same. I'm really curious where we're gonna end the season. I'm curious how much we're going to streamline to get there. You know, I think with the battle by the Lakeshore and the Red Fork, we saw that House of the Dragon is going to have to make some hard choices about streamlining stuff. And I think there are times it can work really well. And we kind of have examples right there. The Red Fork, perfect decision. Cut that battle out. We don't need it. The Lakeshore, I feel like we lost something there a little bit by not having something, even if it was like a very close perspective thing. Like, they didn't need to make it a huge, massive battle. They could have really stuck with a close perspective and done something psychological for the Lakeshore. But we're going to see them make more decisions like that, I think, because they just have so much ground to cover. And the book is kind of like a list of battles. It's like, here's 20 battles that happened over the course of 10 pages, and the show just can't do that. So I'm very excited to see where we go from here. We've got a season ahead of us, I think.
We definitely got a season. and we'll be right here for 6 more weeks and beyond.
That's right. We'll be breaking down each episode after it airs. Make sure to check out winteriscoming.net, where we're also writing about this stuff pretty much constantly, every single day.
Yes, House Nettles on TikTok, House_of_Nettles. If you see this face, you're in the right place. And you can find me other places, Instagram and YouTube, also House of Nettles as well.
So for now, this has been Take the Black. Find us on your podcast platform of choice, and we'll see you next week in Westeros.